Paradise Island, the setting for the EPT's biggest event. Expectations loom and ambitions grow as poker's elite descend on one of the most glamorous locations on the poker circuit. Some are the superstars of poker, some are new contenders, and some are title defenders.
Nobody's ever won 2 EPTs. To do it in the PCA, which is it's definitely the toughest field. I can't even really describe how incredible it would be to win.
I have played the PCA before, I haven't been so successful thus far, so winning an EPT and winning the biggest one of the year would certainly be a huge thrill.
Spectacular views, $1.7 million, and a place in poker history. This is where champions are created. This is the PokerStars.com Caribbean Adventure. It's one of the biggest poker tournaments on the planet. Players from all over the world compete for one of the most prestigious titles in the game.
I'm representing Mexico. I'm going for it.
And all set against one of the most stunning backdrops on the poker circuit. To add more drama to the setting, there's the small matter of the $10 million prize pool and the $1.7 million prize for first place. 418 set down on day 1A, 654 on 1B, meaning there are more than 1,000 players in this field, but only one of them can claim the 2012 PCA title. 217 made it through day 1A, how many will come through today? It's all to play for. Thousands of poker hands lie ahead of this mammoth PCA field. There'll be plenty of pressure, but there's plenty of players who know how to deal with that pressure. On today's feature table, we have a former racing car driver, a former UFC fighter, a former tennis champion, and a 2-time NAPT winner. As an added bonus, we have a secondary feature table, which plays host to poker legend Daniel Negreanu. The PCA has been kind to Daniel, runner-up in last year's Super High Roller. Followed up with another cash in the same event just yesterday. He claimed 5th spot for $250,000. He'll be hoping to continue this good run in the main event.
When I'm playing against tough players, I bring my A game as well. While I love pressure, I love adrenaline rushes like that, and this is definitely an adrenaline rush.
Another player who knows a thing or two about adrenaline rushes is tennis ace turned poker player Boris Becker.
It's one of the biggest tournaments in the world. The best players in the world are here. You know, the prize money is enormous. To win a poker tournament of that size would be incredible.
While the prize money may be far away, but as the players enter the arena, thoughts of winning the title and the trophy are definitely on their minds.
It would be amazing to win the PCA main event. I just got my bracelet, and I think that's the right time.
While some in the room are entertaining the thought of winning, others are just looking to make it through the day.
I've never made it past level 4 in this tournament, so I hope it doesn't change my game to be on the feature table. I have a habit of running really big bluffs and looking like an idiot on TV, but hopefully I can play my own game if I'm up there.
There's a lot of poker to be played as day 1 gets underway. So let's meet the players on our feature table.
I think this graphic should say tennis puns you should expect from Stapes 64. That racing experience will come in handy at poker. I would make a joke, but honestly, I'm too scared. I would make a joke, but honestly, I'm too scared.
So we've got players at the feature table from Canada, England, Brazil, Portugal, Germany, and the USA. So a real international flavor. Everyone started the tournament with 30,000 chips, and the first blind level is 5,100.
What an absolute dream table draw for Vanessa Selbst.
Cards in the air action's going to be on Walter Salles. He will fold. João Santos from Portugal will also pass. Boris Becker looking down at 9s. Will raise, makes it 250.
Nice 2.5x raise.
Gets a quick call from the Canadian player Chris McClung. Vanessa Selbst and Heath Herring have both folded. Kevin Thurman mucks the small blind and Russell Jones gives up the big blind.
These two are racing if we see all 5 cards.
Flop is 8 deuce 4 with 2 spades. Boris with the betting lead. and first to speak.
He's got an overpair to the board, so he's got to like this flop.
He continues for 425.
About a 2/3 pot c-bet.
Chris McClung is raising. He makes it 1,150.
Raising with absolute air. This is the kind of move that encourages every hero call ever made.
Call.
Boris is going to call and see a turn card.
B-Beck's instincts are correct so far.
The turn is the 7 of spades.
If McClung were to continue his ruse, this would be a great card to do it on.
Boris checks.
You know, it's great to see some of this day one play where folks can take a lot of flops and run bluffs like this without necessarily playing for stacks.
Well, McClung bluffed the flop, and he's bluffing the turn as well, making it 1,700.
Now, a lot of players would raise the flop with a flush or straight draw, and both did just come in.
Boris lays it down.
Solid, albeit random bluff by McClung to kick things off, but Boris's hand was pretty marginal, so I hope he doesn't lose any sleep over it. At least McClung isn't making a racket about it. Tennis pun number 1 all day.
Well, we have another sports star in the tournament. Golf star Sergio Garcia.
But I spent all night writing tennis jokes.
But it seems it's the poker celebrities who are drawing the attention of the Railbirds. 09 World Series champion Joe Carter being asked to sign an autograph there.
Can you please make it out to eBay auction winner?
I'm guessing it's Ed, right? Yeah.
The year after Carter won the big one, Jonathan Duhamel was the world champion.
Now he's fresh off his 4th place finish in the Super High Roller.
And the most recent World Series winner was Piers Hines. And on our secondary feature table, Daniel Negreanu's getting a massage.
I'd be that upbeat too if I could afford a 12-hour massage.
Back to our main feature table. Action has been folded around to João Santos in the small blind. He limps with ace-9, and Boris checks behind with the aces.
Very sneaky.
King Jack 5 rainbow flop. Santos checks.
Boris's hand still best.
400.
Bets 400, and Santos insta-folds. Boris, a little bit disappointed not to get some value there.
Shows it.
It's not good.
This guy, not good.
I thought I'd show you guys, no?
That's why everybody folded. You have a tell.
I must have, Must have.
Boris has been getting aces on TV since like the 80s. That's 2.
Well, as the massage continues, Daniel Negreanu is involved in a hand against Kemal Chararia and Javier Moraguez. Moraguez has bet 400 on the flop. Negreanu's called. And Chararia will call as well, so 3-way to the turn. So we have a paired board with a flush draw on it. Now the King of Hearts on the turn. Chiraria's checked.
I wonder if Daniel has any neck tells.
Moraguez has checked as well. Daniel going for chips. Betting 1,375. Chiraria folds.
Moraguez with a defiant look on his face. Maybe he's reading Daniel's masseuse reading him.
He makes the call. The river is another king. It's the King of Diamonds. Moraguez checks again.
And it looks like maybe Daniel has sniffed out some weakness.
3,600.
Daniel bets again, 3,600.
Doesn't appear to be afraid of that king at all.
Moraguez calls, and Daniel shows a jack for a full house. And Moraguez mucks.
I guess that masseuse tell thing needs some work.
So Daniel getting off to a good start here in the PCA main event. Well, among this massive field here in the Bahamas are several EPT champions looking to claim their second title. Among them, Arnaud Matin and Liv Boeri. Liv has checked the river in a hand against Arnaud and Robson Venturini.
Robson's an online qualifier.
He's checked as well. Arno bets 12,800. Liv folds.
Liv folded, but her face says, I know you got there in the river, bro.
Tortured looking Venturini sends his cards to the muck as well. Arno getting off to a very good start on day one of this tournament. Back to the feature table. Action folded to Vanessa Selbst. She's on the button. And with King 7 of diamonds, she raises to 250.
Herring's hands are so huge, those cards look like miniatures.
He folds the Jack 5.
It's like Gandalf playing with Hobbit cards.
Carlos Sanchez has just joined the table. He has ace 10 in the big blind.
This hand is doing pretty well against Vanessa's raising range, but honestly, I'd be terrified to play any hand out of position to Vanessa Selbst.
He 3-bets to 825.
$19.50.
And Vanessa 4-bets.
I think this is a raise or fold situation for Sanchez. If you just call and take a flop out of position to Vanessa, most of the time, she's just going to take it away from you.
He does just call.
Right now, Vanessa's thinking about all the different ways she's going to stack Sanchez's chips later.
Vanessa in position and with the pre-flop betting lead. The flop is King 5-4, all hearts. Selbst with top pair, Sanchez with the nut flush draw.
We're likely to see some more money get into the middle. Sanchez first act, and it looks like he's going to donk out.
He leads for 1,550.
This will look pretty bizarre to Vanessa. This move can sometimes be seen as amateur, and I'm wondering if she'll interpret it that way.
Cool.
She calls. Sanchez gets there on the turn.
The nuts. Now he was the last aggressor.
Bets again, 3,000.
Given the action on the flop, this is actually a really good bet. Small enough to maybe keep Vanessa around by making it look like a weak bluff attempt.
She calls a second time.
I'm not sure if Vanessa likes her hand or if she's setting up a river bluff.
2 of diamonds changes nothing.
Sanchez looks like he's going to fire again.
He's fired all 3 streets, 6,000 on the river.
Less than half the pot. With Vanessa's body language, I'd say bluffing the river is no longer an option. Can she give the amateur credit for a triple barrel bluff? Here comes the crying call.
She makes the call and Sanchez shows the flush. And Vanessa is down to 15,000.
It's gonna look sort of silly on TV.
Vanessa, no offense, but I've seen you do way silly. Vanessa's actually never made a day 2 in this event. Don't worry, Vanessa, there's always next year.
Don't write her off, Stapleton. She's still got half her starting stack. Welcome back to the 2012 PCA. It's a real festival of poker that kicks off with one of the biggest tournaments on the circuit, the PCA Super High Roller. A cool 100K gets you a seat at the table, and this year saw another fantastic display from Daniel Negreanu. Runner-up last year, 5th spot this year, bagging $250,000. Last year's main event winner Galen Hall had an even better run, finishing 3rd, but it was all about internet sensation Victor Isildur Blom. He proved himself in the live arena, taking down $1.2 million. And a day later, he's playing in the main event, sitting opposite last year's Super High Roller champion, Eugene Kachalov.
Make 1.2 Milski and you can't even take the day off? Man, being a professional poker player is hard.
So Kachalov bet the flop. Blom raised him. Eugene's going to make the call. Jack 3-5 flop, the 7 of hearts on the turn. Eugene checks.
Look at Eugene just ignoring the new champion. How rude.
Victor bets 8,600.
He was reaching for chips, and he was reaching for his cards.
It's a fold.
Wonder why he changed his mind. It's not like Victor has any live tells.
He took down the super high roller yesterday, Joe. What results have you had recently?
Yesterday, that was like forever ago.
Back to the feature table. Action on Vanessa Selbst. Picks up deuces in early position and raises to 250. Heath Herring gets rid of the queen 8. Carlos Sanchez is folded. Ace queen for Kevin Thurman.
Not a mandatory re-raise.
He makes the call. Russell Jones, Walter Salas and Gio Santos have folded. Boris announces raise, and that's why he's got aces.
This is pretty much a mandatory re-raise.
Vanessa calls.
Vanessa's going set mining.
Thurman comes along for the ride as well.
He's priced in, even though we know he's crushed.
It's a queen high flop. This could get Thurman in trouble.
B-back still with the best hand. Thurman likely to think he's best, and Vanessa likely to try to rep the best.
Becker is checked. Vanessa checks behind. Thurman with top pair, top kicker.
Not much reason for Thurman to think he doesn't have the best hand, except for that confusing double negative. Surprised Boris gave up the betting lead. Maybe he's looking to check raise.
Thurman makes it 1,000.
Re-raise.
Whoa, buddy, slow your roll. We're still at the regular raise phase.
Boris pumps it up to 3,500. That will get rid of Vanessa Selbst. So the action's back on Thurman.
I don't know that you can go just folding this, but a 3-bet pre-flop and a check raise on the flop looks mighty fishy to me.
Thurman raises.
Well, that's a re-raise, and it looks like this raise is designed to sniff out a bluff. If Boris is going to continue this hand, which he absolutely should, I would probably just shove at this point. Calling almost looks too strong.
Call.
He does call. 16,500 in the middle. The 6 of hearts on the turn.
That 6 is about as big a brick as it gets.
Boris checks, and Thurman checks behind. The river is the jack of clubs. Boris checks again, and Thurman checks.
I think snap checking back twice with a hand that strong will lose you money in the long run, but in this case, it looks like Thurman made an awesome read, somehow checking down one of the strongest hands in his range when he's beat.
Boris Becker adds more than 8,500 chips to his stack.
Well, in many respects, tennis is a very similar game to poker. Aces play a big part in tennis as well. Being the world's best tennis player was one thing, but starting pretty much as a rookie in poker is a very humbling experience. You have to be very patient, you have to be open-minded and willing to learn the game. You need to be mentally very, very patient. You need to wait and wait for the right moment. In poker, in a way, it's more difficult because you sit down. And to be patient without moving and throwing away the hands and hands and hands, it is very difficult. You know, in many occasions on a poker table, it's a one-to-one situation, it's a heads-up, and that's tennis. So you have to read the other person. But I think the mental aspect of tennis and poker is very, very similar, where you understand that this is a long game. You don't win the tournament on the first day or on a good hand. And even though you have a bad beat, you still have a couple chips left. So regroup. Don't go on tilt. Just focus again, which is harder to do than to speak about. But if you truly love the game and you want to compete and you want to get better, the only way by getting better is by playing. So my goal is to get more professional about it and actually make a final table at DPT. I haven't done that yet, so that's my goal.
Boris takes the tennis comparison very seriously. If a chip rolls out of his stack, a guy comes running across the stage and grabs it.
Blinds up to 75, 150. Action will be João Santos. He folds. Another pocket pair for Boris Becker, 8. He raises to 400. And folded around to Carlos Sanchez. Sanchez has 6-9 of diamonds.
We saw Sanchez take a big one from Vanessa Selps. Now it looks like he's got B-backs in his sights. And trust me, you don't want to be in the sights of a guy wearing Folkleys and a faux Rari hat.
Raise.
He 3-bets to 1200. Gets rid of Thurman. Russell Jones will also pass. King 10, Walter Sellers.
Call.
He'll mark. Boris quickly calls the 3-bet. King Jack 4 flop.
Salas with a flop top pair. Sanchez whiffed pretty hard. Boris has the best hand, but that's not the best board for 2-8s.
Checks to Sanchez.
What's it gonna be, Terminator?
1200.
A continuation bet of 1200.
Pretty nice C-bet.
And Boris gives up the best hand.
Dirty Sanchez. Now, despite what it might look like, I think Boris is playing just fine. Sure, he folded the best hand twice. They were marginal hands in the early stages of a tournament. Besides, Boris, don't worry, I'm sure you'll get aces again soon.
Heath Herring and Carlos Sanchez are in the blinds. Kevin Thurman has folded under the gun. Russell Jones gets out of the way. This is Walter Salas and João Santos. Boris isn't going to play this one, so Vanessa Selps will raise her button. Makes it 300 with Queen 8. And what is her nemesis going to do with A7?
Certainly a hand worth defending with.
He calls. And he flops the nuts.
MBN must be nice. Not just flopping the flush, but doing it against the most aggressive player at the table. It's like needing to push a boulder downhill.
Vanessa continues with 350.
Vanessa's going to C-bet in this spot about 107% of the time.
Sanchez will check raise. And Vanessa insta-folds.
Good fold this time from Vanessa. I think Sanchez revved the engine a little too hard on that one. He flooded it.
Carlos Sanchez has come to the Caribbean from Venezuela. He's yet to have a cash on the EPT, but he did score in the 2010 World Series of Poker main event, finishing 290th. His career earnings total more than $50,000. Well, players have come to the PCA from all over the world. Lots of familiar faces from the European legs of the EPT.
Familiar faces like Dario Minieri. His 6 EPT caches add up to 3 final tables.
How does 6 caches add up to 3 final tables?
You do the math.
We've got Ivan Demidov, second in the 2008 World Series main event.
Looking for his 3rd EPT cache.
And Luca Pagano, who's got more caches on the tour than any other player.
And just a handsome man.
Well, Joe's Man Crush is the current tournament chip leader. Luca playing a stack of over 84,000. Ivan Demidov also in the top 5 right now. And Arno Matan and Dario Minieri both in the top 10. Meanwhile, back at our secondary feature table.
This is going to be a hard one because I have no idea where to start in terms of putting you on a hand. I was hoping you called, and you did that.
If I did that, Daniel means Zaitsev raised the river.
Ace deuce of diamonds? No, no budge. But that's one that makes sense if he had ace deuce of diamonds.
We could be in for a long one here.
Or 4-5 of hearts. Ace deuce of diamonds or 4-5 of hearts.
Is he done yet?
No, not 4-5 of hearts. Scratch 4-5 of hearts. That's not 4-5 of hearts.
Okay.
Oh no, small chance, like 3%. No, 8% chance.
Okay.
4-5 of hearts. Ace deuce of diamonds. I'm gonna give you like 62%. And then a set. I don't know how you play a set like that, bro.
Does he know that Zaitsev's wearing headphones?
I love when he does this. He's like the Canadian mentalist.
I've confused myself enough, I think.
Is Daniel actually gonna fold? Are we rolling on this?
Overpair, no. Why would you do that? A jack, no. I'm gonna go with, I think ace deuce of diamonds. I'm gonna go with ace deuce of diamonds.
He does fold.
If you don't have ace deuce of diamonds, well done.
All right.
Oh, you didn't hear a word I said, did you? I was talking to a wall, a Russian wall. Всем привет.
Daniel Negreanu doing his thing. To find out how you can join us on the European Poker Tour, feature of the show, and win training from a top poker pro, go to pokerstars.com, where there are qualifiers every day. Welcome back to Paradise Island for the first day of the 2012 PokerStars.com Caribbean Adventure. The sun's shining down on this idyllic island, and there are over 1,000 players hoping that fortune will be shining down on them as they play for one of the most coveted trophies in the game. And with so many sports stars sitting on the feature table, we've seen day one get off to a suitably active start.
What's wrong with Daniel? That's 2 hours having a massage.
I know, he could afford it, can't he?
What do you know?
Trust me, there's plenty wrong with Daniel, but it has nothing to do with his body, other than those highlights and the hairlessness.
Action has been folded around to Heath Herring.
Aces for Hercules, I mean Herring.
He raises to 400. It's a fold from Sanchez. And Thurman. Russell Jones in the small blind.
You just knew by the look on Jones's face he was getting involved.
Ace-Jack of hearts, he calls. And Walter Salas calls with King-Jack.
Compared to Herring, these two guys are in bad shape. Also, their hands aren't doing very well.
The flop is 7-8-5 with 2 hearts. The nut flush draw for Jones.
Jones has flopped pretty big, but Herring's still ahead and the favorite.
Both blinds check.
Checking to the razor.
Herring continues for 1,000. It's a pot-sized bet, and it gets a call from Jones. Salas gets out of the way.
Jones does have the nut flush draw.
King of spades on the turn.
Changes nothing.
Jones checks a second time. Herring looks like he wants to bet again. There's 3,200 in the middle, and he makes it 2,275.
Even though we know Jones is crushed with the nut flush draw and an overcard, calling's usually fine here.
And he does call. The river is another king. No heart for Jones.
It's a swing and a miss for Casey Jones at the bat.
He checks. And I reckon we'll see a bet and a fold here. The bet is 5,000.
Nice river value bet. Gonna be tough to get paid.
And there's the fold from Jones.
I just realized who Herring reminds me of. Chewbacca. Not bad.
Let's head to the outer tables, where we find tournament chip leader Luca Pagano in action.
Luca's the one guy I know who could pull off white after Labor Day.
Involved in a hand against James Seletsky. They see a flop. 5-7-9 with 2 clubs. Luca checks. Seletsky bets 2,200. And Luca calls. 6 of diamonds on the turn.
This board's soaking wet with more draws than World Cup soccer.
Goes check, check. And another 6, the 6 of clubs on the river.
Every conceivable draw came in on the river.
Luca bets 6,000. Seletsky looks tortured.
If it's gonna be a call, it'll be a crying call.
He says call.
He's announced call.
Super crying call. He can't even get the chips in.
Luca shows 8-7 for a straight. Seletsky had an overpair to the board.
From crying to sobbing. Luca, hey, what are you doing later? Want to go to Red Lobster?
Well, even though it's early days, Luca Pagano is already closing in on the 100,000 chip mark, as is Arno Matin, also in the top 10, Lex Veldhaus, Ivan Demidov, and Dan Shak, who is the runner-up in this year's Super High Roller Tournament, losing heads up to Victor Bloch.
Luca's got 653 big blinds. That's ludicrous. I'd go hit the Dolphin Cove, come back for the final table.
Back to the feature table. Action on Walter Salas, who's got queens. He's raising to 400.
Call.
Folded to Boris Becker in the small blind, and Boris has picked up jacks.
Bit of a cooler.
Boris flats, Chris McClung folds.
Surprised to see Boris not re-raise, although Walter has been playing pretty snug.
So heads up to the flop. Which is queen high, top set for Walter Salas. Boris checks.
Walter may be tempted to check this, but you have to bet your sets to try to build a pot.
Just one overcard on the board.
Because of that, I would imagine Boris will stick around for at least another street.
Only 500, but Boris lets it go.
Good job didn't prop bet, yeah?
He was right, but what a nit.
You was ahead, Boris.
I wasn't. I made a good call.
To use a tennis analogy, Walter hit his ball directly into the net.
I made a good call.
Think you mean fold.
Good fold,
Good job of queen, the jack didn't come.
Yeah. Would have been expensive.
It was expensive then.
Bad luck.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta smell it, huh?
I smell a nit.
Nearly checked it. I was gonna check.
Let's head back to our secondary feature table where it's round 2 between Daniel Negreanu and Evgeny Zaitsev.
These two are at it again. Zaitsev realizing that Daniel's powers are almost useless as long as he keeps those earbuds in.
Zaitsev bet 15.75 on the flop. Daniel called. Goes check, check on the turn. On the river. Daniel checks. And Zaitsev checks.
Daniel shows threes.
And they're good.
So good.
Had a pair. I don't like folding pairs.
I agree.
Yeah, pair.
Just leave off the word pairs.
So Daniel's good start to day 1 of the PCA continues. He is number 2 on the all-time money list with live career earnings of nearly $15 million. 2 cashes on the European Poker Tour, including a final table appearance in Vienna. And before it was part of the EPT, he made the final table of the PCA.
Of course, the main event is something that I'd like to reach the final table at. The very first one on the boat, I came third, and I haven't had a chance to get back to that final table, and I'd very much like to do that.
Well, that final table is actually on a cruise ship, and it's being used for bingo tonight.
Lines up to 100, 200. Action has been folded to Boris Becker. Not going to play this hand. 6s for Chris McClung.
400.
Canadian raises to 400.
I like how he popped that chip in there. That was cool.
7-8 suited for Vanessa Selbst. Calling from the hijack. 9-8 of hearts.
More suited connectors for Thor.
Heath Herring calls from the cutoff. King 4 of hearts for Carlos Sanchez.
Sanchez is in position and getting some nasty pot odds.
He calls. Kevin Thurman folds the small blind, and Russell Jones folds the big blind. So 4 players will see the flop. Ten, 9, 6. What a flop! A straight flush draw for Vanessa Selbst and a set of 6s for Chris McClung.
This flop is so much action, it should star Jason Statham.
Let's not forget that Heath Herring has paired his 9, and he has a straight draw as well.
McClung's very likely to think he has the best hand with a set of 6s.
McClung has continued for 11.50.
Vanessa has little to protect against. A raise could chase away some of her action.
She calls.
Herring also flopped pretty huge, like his arms.
He calls. Sanchez will get out of the way, so 3 players go to the turn. And there is the straight flush for Vanessa Selbst.
Vanessa's inner monologue. Please someone bet. Please someone bet.
McClung checks it.
He does not oblige. It's actually a pretty scary board for bottom set.
Vanessa checks as well. And Herring checks behind. 10 of clubs on the river. McClung improves to a full house.
Rivering a full house, usually a good thing. This time, not so much. This is gonna get ugly.
He bets 4,000. Vanessa only has 13,000 behind.
How much will the raise be?
I'm all in.
She moves all in. Herring folds. Decision on McClung.
It is bottom full house. Maybe he gets away.
I call.
No, he calls.
Sick, man.
Yeah. Figured you have a house. Yeah.
McClung looks McStung. Sick. That was sicker than the monkey from Outbreak.
It's rare to get a straight flush. It's even rarer to get paid the maximum with it.
Against someone else, maybe McClung could have laid it down, but against Vanessa, no shot you can fold.
If I didn't pump most of my stack earlier, you could have won a lot, lost a lot more.
Yeah,
Sweet consolation, Vanessa.
I guess.
Vanessa did not get off to the best of starts in this tournament, but she's now back above her starting stack. She must be very happy with how that hand played out.
So we're 3 ways to the turn, and it's Jack of Spades. That's pretty much bingo, obviously. I make a straight flush. It's not very often you get to do that. Chris now checks. There's a valid option for betting here, and I would say that I probably should have bet in retrospect. I decided to check, and so we see a river, and it's pretty perfect. It's the 10. And Chris bets out 4,000 into a pot of 5,000. I'm all in. I think it's very likely that Chris has a very strong hand like a set on the flop, which turned into a full house.
I call.
It's interesting that he had pocket sixes. I actually think that in his spot I would have folded because it's unlikely for me to ever really be bluffing in this spot. You know, I think it's a closer decision in his spot than it looks like to the average viewer because he has the worst full house possible, and it's unlikely that I'm pushing all in on that board without a hand that's at least a full house.
Well, she may be below average in chips, but she is most definitely still a contender in the PCA main event. Welcome back to Paradise Island for the first day of the 2012 PokerStars.com Caribbean Adventure. Millions of dollars may be at stake, but there's still plenty of distractions in this poker paradise. And unfortunately for Canada's Chris McClung, he's now free to hit the slides. As things went from downhill to rock bottom during the break, Carlos Sanchez claimed an early knockout. On the flip side, pro golfer Sergio Garcia is enjoying some time indoors. He's got off to a steady start, even if he needs the occasional bit of mentoring from a seasoned pro. And the good times seem to be rolling on the secondary feature table.
I'm having fun, huh? Here's the 2012.
What is in that cup?
New player on our feature table, Daniel Coleman. He's folded, as has Vanessa Selbst. Heath Herring has threes. 5. And he raises to 500. Thurman knocks the ace-4. Russell Jones folds. Pocket fives on the button for Walter Salas. He'll call. João Santos and Boris Becker both fold, so we go heads up to the flop.
Salas the favorite.
And still the favorite.
Both players flop a gut shot to go with their pairs. Salas the favorite and ahead.
800.
Herring continues for 800.
Man, he is massive. I feel if he leans on that table too much, the whole thing could tip.
Salas makes the call. He goes to the turn, which is the ace of hearts.
Salas now double gutted to go with the best hand. It looks like Herring's going to double barrel.
2,900 in the middle. He makes it 1,500.
Looks like Herring's semi-bluffing. I don't think he can think he's got the best hand very often.
A call from Salas.
Looked like he wanted to fold, though.
The river, the queen of diamonds.
Here comes the triple barrel.
Wow, you've got to admire Herring's spirit. He's fired all 3 streets. He makes it 3,500 on the river.
I don't think in general that Herring's going to get too many better hands to fold in this spot, but Walter might just have the one. When someone triple barrels you and you call with 4th pair and you're wrong, you feel like a real dunce.
Another card comes, you bet again, don't you? You're gonna bet
as long as it's not a spade.
Whatever you say, big man.
Salas makes the fold. And Herring adds 3,100 chips to his stack. A solid start to the day for the UFC star.
The fighting lifestyle is a lot of fun. It's different. My nickname is Texas Crazy Horse. Fans in Japan kind of gave that to me, and I had a lot of fun. Traveled the world, got to see a lot of different places, bled in a lot of different countries, and it was different. It was enjoyable. I think it's really one of the most pure sports around. I mean, it's two men in a ring, and find out who wins at the end. It's one of the few times that you really kind of the chains come off, so to speak. Well, obviously living in Vegas and training out there, I had a lot of free time between fights. So I just started playing some tournament poker, had a lot of fun. Now that I've got a lot more free time on my hands, I kind of started doing it a little bit more seriously. I satellited into the PCA, into the main event. So I did a super satellite and got myself in, and that's nice. Poker and fighting, they really don't relate. You're talking about an athletic event as opposed to a real cerebral event. But I do definitely think, you know, as far as being fearless, I had Vanessa Selps on my right. She's pretty fearless. It's definitely enjoyable seeing how she plays. Poker is enjoyable, it's entertaining if you understand the intricacies of the game. Fortunately, being around the world, I've made some friends that are pretty good, and hopefully I can pick their brain a little bit and get them to teach me some stuff. Obviously, making it is money, and it'd be a nice little bankroll to kind of hang back on and just travel on the circuit and go play. Giving it a shot. I mean, if I'm going to come along, might as well play a little bit and see what happens.
Anyone else really surprised that he knew what the word cerebral meant? Hardigan made me say that.
I love it when you throw me under the bus, Joe. Let's head to the secondary feature table, a hand involving Daniel Negreanu and Tony Bracey.
And a lot of texting.
About a thing. I think he's got at least an ace. I'm gonna fold my king. I'm in that mindset right now. King eye flush draw, no good.
I'm sorry, did he say the flush draw was no good or the singing?
Bit from column A, bit from column C. We've got an all-in on one of our outer tables.
Oh.
It's last season's grand final champion, Ivan Freitas. His ace-king has run into the aces of tournament chip leader Arnaud Matan.
Pretty tough to angle shoot once the cards are on their backs, eh, Ivan?
He's drawing dead on the turn.
Hey, maybe you can get your chips back if you pretend not to speak English.
Not quite sure how he got 30,000 chips in the middle with ace-king at this stage of the tournament, but there you go.
Way to go, Arnaud.
Easy game. Arnaud, one of several EPT winners, left alive.
Galen Hall finished third in the super high roller here at the PCA just last night. Jason Mercier hasn't won a tournament in days and is considering a career change. Kevin McPhee, are you sure it's the table that's loosened up or just your neck?
Kevin won Berlin in season 6, and the same season, his better half, Liv Paris, took down San Remo.
I think I should head in there and even up the whole massage. No? Okay.
Let's check in on super high roller champion Victor Blom, involved in a hand against Leonardo Emperador. Blom's made it 1,000 on the flop. Emperador has raised to 2,800. Victor makes the call. The board now reads Queen, Deuce, King, 8 with 2 diamonds. Emperador checks a second time. And Victor
loading up.
Bet a second time, 3,200. Quick call from Emperador.
Doesn't leave Victor with too many chips behind.
5 of spades on the river. So Emperador has check raised the flop and check called the turn. It goes check, check on the river. Emperador shows a deuce, and it's good.
Deuce is good. Huh.
Wow.
Victor's reputation preceded him, I guess. I think Victor needs to lay off the Rammstein.
I think he's more of a fan of Die Totenhosen. Back to our feature table. Action on Walter Salas. Ace-6 of diamonds. He'll fold. Santos and Becker will muck.
500.
Ace-5 of spades for Daniel Coleman. He raises to 500.
It's a little loose from his position, but it's aight.
Ace-Queen for Vanessa Selps. She will re-raise it to 3-bet to 1,300.
Vanessa's image usually gets her 3 bets more action. In this case, I think she wants it.
Quickly folded back around to Coleman, who has 11,000 behind. He moves all in.
Wow, that is a massive shove relative to the size of the pot. Obviously, we know Vanessa's ahead, but I'm not sure how often she will be in this spot. She may be able to use this overbet as a way to eliminate super premium hands from his range.
She's calling.
Coleman's looking a little flush, which, by the way, is just about his only hope.
Spades or a 5. That's what would keep Daniel Coleman alive. 5 cards to come.
This poor kid, what did he walk into?
The flop doesn't really give him much hope.
1 spade out there.
Backdoor straight possibilities.
He's so doe-eyed. How can you take his chips?
The turn gives Coleman significantly more outs.
Makes it interesting.
He's got a flush draw and a gut shot. Vanessa loves the sweat.
Put a 10 up there for the chop.
Ha.
That wouldn't be a chop.
The river is the king of hearts.
That's it.
Okay.
Daniel Coleman eliminated by Vanessa Selbst.
The good news is you made the TV table.
Hey, good luck, everyone. That's hand.
Thank you.
The bad news is you got it in super bad on the TV table.
That is not a good chair.
But that's you think it's a good chair.
Yeah, right. It's the only one I can win off of. That's the only chair I can beat. Fill it soon, please.
Don't worry, Vanessa. You're always on someone's left. Someone who obviously runs very bad at life.
Well, congratulations, Vanessa. You've set a new personal best in this tournament. She's made it to the end of level 4 for the first time ever in the PCA. She's done it the hard way and still has a below average stack.
If by hard way you mean making a straight flush and stacking a dude, then yes.
Well, that's the last hand of the level. That's the last hand we're going to see today. Let's see who the biggest stacks are in the room right now. Arno Mattern, still the tournament chip leader. He has 736 big blinds. Quite some distance between him and the second man on the leaderboard, Luca Pagano. Well, next time Day 1B continues as the remaining players aim to make it to Day 2. And 2 big guns, 2 super high roller champions square up to each other across the future table.
My favorite part of being at the PCA is the competition that you get. It kind of brings out the best in me.
French pro Arno Mattern has the chip lead. He's looking to make it count.
Of course, a rush like this gives you a lot of confidence. You know, keep my fingers crossed. It's always nice to get a little help.
Survival is the name of the game for many as carnage ensues on the floor of the 2012 PCA main event.